You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Center, this is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
This is We're going live! Time goes in, time goes out. Never miscommunication.
It's over 9,000! My name is Foxy.
The balls are in there. Do a barrel roll. Don't chase me, bro. It's a trap. I'm a firing believer. Time to Hey, Charlie, wake up! Oh, God, oh, man.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of the Nerd to Know Basis Show, airing on Phoenix 92.5 FM and all those other wonderful places on the internet. I am Cian, and with me this week is Kev. How are you doing?
Oompa, loompa, doompa dee doo.
I've got a lovely scandal for you.
I didn't think we'd be back talking about Wonka so soon. Like, I thought, Chalamet, one and done. That was, it was a fine movie. Had some ups, had some downs, and then that was it. Didn't think we'd be back on this.
Look, we'll get to the nerdy stuff. We've got the likes of DCC and Avatar and all that kind of stuff on the list. But this story may not be traveling. I did see the AV Club covering it. So before we get into anything, maybe you should cover the basics of what the big thing that's going out this week is.
First off, my name is Kev, and Scotland are simply just at it, right? What this is, it has just been ruling my Twitter feed between the Kate Middleton disappearing conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
has been this Willy Wonka experience in Glasgow that, I'm surprised people didn't immediately catch it as a scam. Have you seen did you see the artwork for the advertising?
Oh, I can do you one better. Just while I was waiting for you to get on the call, I did a bit of Googling, and you know what? The site is still live and offering to sell tickets. So you can just read it. And it doesn't seem to have been corrected.
I hope, listen, there is going to be a breath between this recording and since it releases. I hope that website's still up. So it is a Willy Wonka live action experience that was being advertised in Glasgow. And they were using these lavish, vibrant, awful AI generated art pieces to advertise. I think one picture is this generative Gene Wilder, who his elbow is a 4-dimensional tesseract that is simultaneously in front of his body and also behind his body. And while his arms are in two different positions, his hands are facing the same direction. It's awful. It is bafflingly awful. And for this experience, being charged at, I think, up to £35 a ticket. So, premium cost for a day experience. What people got was the shoddiest props in an empty warehouse.
Look, we're the podcast that has a host who's proudly seen Madam Web 6 times. I'm not going to say we're bastions dedicated to high quality. And, I've worked in theater. I've done some underwhelming events in my time, but this seems like next level. Again, this is one of these things where it's hard to really discern it over an audio medium that we encourage. As you're listening to us, I really want you to look to Google the image of this, because the news story. Because the link, I'm looking at it now. The Book Now webpage is still the first result on Google, which is stunning. If it was me, I would eradicate all information about this as quick as I can. But you know what? Let's backtrack a bit. So, what it was pitched as was a sort of and you have to do a bit of detective work to actually like get all the angles on this. But what it was pitched as seemingly was like a 2-hour like experience where you get to have loads of chocolate, walk through, go across the bridges, go through the sets. There's live actors. I've done lots of like live interactive experiences like this. Like, you know, I've done Doctor Who ones. I did the Gatsby thing at the gate. I've done horror ones. When they work, they are really cool. It should be said. And for kids, it's a great idea. It's
good AR kind of immersive experiences are unforgettable. Like I went to one in Bristol called Wake the Tiger, which was this almost like it was a walkthrough, but there were several kind of puzzle rooms and surrealism and wandering actors. Like when it's done right, it's incredible. Yeah. But this is several cheap looking props modeled after various points of the Willy Wonka of like.
I would not even go that far.
Spread haphazardly and quite a distance from each other in just a real grimy warehouse.
It was giving me big, I suppose, have you ever heard of DashCon vibes?
That's exactly it. Yeah, no, like
it was a big hole with one little tiny ball pit in it, like, you know.
Exactly. That's hitting the nail on the head. And then pictures came out of like, God help her. I can only imagine. Have you seen the pictures of the Oompa Loompa?
I was wondering, are they real? Because
they seem real.
It looks like it couldn't be real. She's just sat there with some test tubes and pipettes and stuff like.
That's it. Like now, there's something deeply unflattering about the way it's shot because it's misty. It looks like an Oompa Loompa in a meth lab. Like
yes, that's why I thought it was fake.
No, because I've seen other angles of her actually like giving chocolate to children.
Yeah, let's backtrack a bit though. So it was pitched as like a 2-hour event, and as you kind of alluded to there, people got in, and first and foremost, there was no chocolate. Kids got like a cup with like a lollipop and like some jelly beans in it. And to be fair, when you look through the website, there are no images of chocolate. It should be said. It's all pictures of jelly beans and stuff. But like it's like just this evening, like an interview with the main Willy Wonka actor.
I was going to get to that.
That's and before you actually get to that, though, I should say they may have done some correcting on the real website for two reasons. One, there's no chocolate in any of the images, and two, I noticed since the first time I checked that the duration thing has gone down from 1 hour and 50 minutes to 45 minutes. So they may be trying to reopen it and capitalize on the anti-hype. That's my tinfoil conspiracy because I did notice the changes.
Well, that's it. You have to emphasize reopen because this did get closed down by the police.
Yes.
The police got called.
Police.
The police did get called because people walked in and were immediately like, this is a scam. We're getting robbed. There's no way. And again, £35. So like 40 euros. It's not
even called Willy Wonka. It's Willy's Chocolate Experience now. Again, this is tinfoil hat correcting after the facts.
Make way for Willy! And the crowning jewel to this, I think, is, as we mentioned, the actor, like the actor playing Willy Wonka in this, who again really just seems to be like a struggling actor trying to find any work and found this job, was given a very clearly AI generated script that was gibberish, like not proofread at all. And at a section, and he's quoted as saying that at a section where he told to hoover up the nobody, an evil spirit, which again, there's videos of that crawling out from behind him.
Oh, are there videos?
There is. And it's wonderful. The one I saw had a kid go, oh.
Okay, I want to give a slight update. I've tried to book tickets on the Willy's Chocolate Experience. When you try book now, it goes 404 not found.
It's wiping as we speak.
This just gets better and better.
But no, it's at the Willy Wonka quote. He was saying that he had to there was a section where he had to suck that like nobody spirit up with a vacuum cleaner. And so when he went to the organizers and said, "Okay, cool, we could do this. Do you have a vacuum cleaner?" The organizers allegedly said, "No, we'll figure it out as we go."
So like, you're giving me a sense of what it was like for the actors, but like, what was like the crowd like reception? Because usually if I go to an event and it's underwhelming, you kind of go, "Oh, it's a bit rubbish," and you leave and go to a cafe or something. Like, what made it so hostile? What really set the internet alight? Like,
again, Cian, I need you to like. I really just keep bringing up. This cost £35. If you spend 40 quid, like €40, to go into somewhere, and it's that crap.
I've done it before.
The police got called. It's what
okay.
happened.
Yes, I will admit that's
This was very definitively. This is not what I paid for. Give me my money back.
Right. I mean, maybe I just have too much empathy because I was sort of a jobbing theater type for a while. And you know what? Funnily enough, I actually did a show, but it was actually good. A thing that went around schools where I was a chocolate professor. And so when I kind of hear like, okay, 15 pages, you sort of have to have a script for every single eventuality. It wasn't AI generated, obviously. But like, so some of these things I'm like, yeah, it's not good, but it's not surprising.
But when your actor or you as an actor asked your organizer, "What do I do in this circumstance?" and they just shrugged and said, "You'll figure it out."
I've had it before.
Yeah. That's it. I as I said, I'm not casting any blame on the actual actors.
No, I'm not trying to excuse them. It's just this isn't as surprising to me as it does seem to be to a lot of other people. Like,
I think it is. I think it's a confluence of like the radioactivity of AI generated art and AI generated material on like Twitter at the moment. I'm sure Wonka is still hot SEO. Considering Mr. Chalamet's performance. And then again, just the fact that the actual police had to get involved.
Okay, but like, so I want to get more of a shape of like the timeline though. So you come in, how do you not have chocolate? I'm sure Glasgow has the equivalent of like a Spar. How do you not?
No, Glasgow definitely has a Lidl, which you could buy chocolate in for very cheap on mass.
Yeah, and also Wonka Bar brand chocolate exists. And even if you can't afford it, you can print labels. Like, it's like I was looking at the photos and there was that like little like kind of bouncy castle area and that kind of stuff. And like there are so many little fixes that could just correct this. Just make the space smaller. Just have a little cafe bar where you can get hot chocolate. It doesn't need to be this. And I do have empathy because I've been on projects where something obvious you just miss for weeks. But how? Was there like shenanigans in the background, or was this down to like just overblown confidence, or like what's the magic secret that made this the way it is? Like
I can't say, I think the organizers have remained quite expectantly quite silent on it.
Yes.
But to me it reeks of just laziness, just of just, well, we're going to make an experience. People seem to like Wonka right now. Let's charge 35 quid and make a bunch of props. This warehouse is really cheap.
Yeah, the organizer is House of Illuminati. And I don't want to turn this into like a deep dive, but I'd love to know if this was like just some chancers, or like, is this like usually they do good stuff and it just didn't come together this time? Like, it's I want to know if I should approach this with skepticism or empathy,
I'm jumping immediately to skepticism. This, again, with with the little insight I have from that interview with Mr. Wonka himself.
Yeah. Well, when you Google House of Illuminati, it says temporarily closed.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it is. I'm sure they're not opening their doors to anyone right now.
They have a nice logo.
Is it the pyramid?
It's all AI looking things. I might link this to you. I know this doesn't do the audio medium any benefits, but like, I mean, to go to pull from our similar things, it's, do you remember that Jenny Nicholson like Nevermore Park thing?
Oh, Evermore,
and like
yes.
it was all like all the images, like none of them were like representative of reality in the park. When you look at all this art for all their different events that may or may not be happening, that is the vibe.
Well, if you want a little bit of executive of on the ground journalism, it turns out the UK just have the public information of companies just on hand. And I'm not going to give that information over the air because I'm not going to dox someone. But I can see that the current director of House of Illuminati was only appointed in November of 2023. So
yeah, I'm looking through all of their posts, and the furthest back they go is the 12th of December.
Yeah, no. So I suspect
one being the Willy Wonka one. So, but they announced like 5 events all at once. So that's what I mean. Is this like completely undeserved confidence, or is this a scam? You know,
I'm airing to scam. I think if not scam, then very lazy attempts at cash grabbing. Like that the fine gray mist in between.
The website does this thing I don't like on websites where it's like the type font is in gray, but it's on a blue background.
Oh, Cian, do you think the guys that made the Willy Wonka Experience in a warehouse maybe didn't make a great website? You think that?
Look, I as someone who like kind of has made events, I've seen dog piles, and I just want to know more before I make a verdict. You know, I'm sure this is bad. I'm sure it was a scam. I want to know if this is an anomaly or a trend. That's all.
You're too kind for this world.
Look, we don't know what will come out in a week's time. I approach everything with like reasonable skepticism. Now, I would love if you could look at the website maybe after the recording. It's like, look, for all I know, like, I mean, it certainly seems like the actors are getting scammed out of money because of the way their contracts were signed. Did you see that in the interview?
No.
They misspelled the word contracts on contracts.
Now
2 O's.
Now listen, not to make this a nationality thing. Maybe that's just how the Scottish do it. You think with their broken website they have phonetically written contracts? Contracts.
I'm surprised though, because like Glasgow, like, I mean, look, I can't say for being there, but I've got family there. Like it's a relatively, I understand, like artsy city. Like it's a strange place to try and get away with something like this.
And yet, people will always try.
Yeah, I'd love to know what was the straw that broke the camel's back that made them stop letting people in. Because
I would say, like, I would now, Cian, not to make this a haphazard mess. I would say the police. I know. It's a point I keep kind of coming back to. There was a line when this became drama, and that was the police.
The police aren't the Tesco manager. Like, what do they do?
I don't know. Tell them.
What are they going to read the website and say, like, oh, this hour and a half experience is only 45 minutes. We've assessed this. Don't they? Like, I don't want to let them off the hook, but like, what would they do in that situation?
Now, you make a great point on what would the police do. Great point there. Love that. but yeah, no, it like I think you're being very kind to people
I'm
who
being
charge
incredibly kind. It's just I want to be on the right
£35.
side of history here in case this is
I
someone's
don't
baby and they got fecked over or something, you know?
I don't know. I don't think you're. I don't think you're swinging at the fence there. I think.
No, I don't think this is going to get a resurgence. I mean, look at the images. It's like there are just like A2 posters against gray walls
Yeah.
that don't even look original. Like, I mean, so many. Just don't use the fluorescent lights. Every theater has lights.
I really think
These
I
are
just like.
so easy to fix, you know? There are TVs turned off. Put something on them.
It is so
Netflix
funny
comes
to me
with
that
like
this.
fireplace footage. Just have a picture of a river or something.
It is so funny to me that this seems to have just like pinned a very specific sore spot for you as
For
a
me.
theater manager. Yeah.
It's like I approach this from both angles. I have empathy for the actors and the people who went because, like, you know, it's you're hired to do a job and you do your best you can, and it sounds like the management just hung them out to dry, basically. But equally, I have been on events where, like, you know, you've got so much to do, and you're like, oh, we forgot the chocolate in our chocolate event because we were stressing about getting that candy tree painted or something. So I see obviously all the parents who are like disappointed, they're the ones who like we should like prioritize and all that. I'm not going to say this is not a scam. I'm just saying I want to know more. That's all.
Oh, I'm
Because
sure.
it's really tragic to be part of like an event that doesn't do well, you probably won't make money off of, and then you've got the public stuff on top of it. So I just want to know more before I just like write it off, you know?
I'm sure. Like, yeah, this is only something I think that really came out yesterday as of recording. So like the very end of February here, and so I don't doubt you will be, if you dig now over the next few weeks, you'll find out everything you can about this. If there
I
is a
suspect
YouTube,
so. Yeah,
you'll probably find. Give it a week, you'll find a good YouTube deep dive.
it's get like Sarah Z or someone on this. Jenny, you know what? Jenny Nicholson would be heartbroken. She didn't get to this.
Jenny Nicholson has way too much going on anyway.
It's a theme park though, a bad theme park.
She has spent 2 years making a Star Cruiser video. She's busy.
Is that where she is? I miss her.
Yeah. But speaking of things that, you know, I think people could construe as a cash grab. Hey, Cian, did you watch that new Avatar live action series?
My God, the art of the segue. You surfed on a bubble of air to get there.
I've
been
doing this for 7 years.
I'm inherently skeptical of the live action thingies. I know you said One Piece is really good, and I believe you. But
Now, Cian,
unless there's like a real twist on it, I don't see the point. How does it stack up?
Cian, you're making a good point about the skepticism, especially considering this is a series that has been mired in production hell for, I want to say, 6-7 years. I think was when this was first announced.
And also considering that like the film adaptation is frequently on those like worst of the worst lists and all that, you know.
Oh, the Shyamalan one. Oh, yeah. Well, that's aside the point. But what also really kind of nails this one in was that they had the original creators. The names escape me. Anyway, they had the original creators of Avatar involved, who then left because of creative differences.
Okay.
Halfway through production.
Little klaxons going off there.
Yeah. So as it is now launched, I have to say, I was expecting worse.
Okay.
I'm it now. That's not to say it's good.
Right.
But we've had this conversation a couple of times because I seem to be endlessly fascinated by Netflix's string of live action animation reboots. I don't know where I got that
because
from.
for every Death Note, you get Full Metal Alchemist. Like, it swings and roundabouts. Like,
so I think, I think there was a part of me probably chasing that One Piece high because really, if nothing else to take away from this section, go watch that One Piece show. It's really good. But the creators of the One Piece show did not, in fact, create this. And this falls in that kind of like that real valley where it's not bad enough to be notable and entertaining in the way that like Cowboy Bebop was.
Right. There was
But
kind of
it's not
like, I didn't watch that one, but I remember there was kind of a spectacle to it. Like,
Oh, the entire anything to do with Vicious in that was truly so comically off base. It's watching a train wreck. Whereas this just kind of falls into the deep valley of just passable enough that it's not actually engaging in a way. So what it is the first season that covers it is one season that covers the first book, so the first season of the animated series, but has reformatted it into 8-hour-long episodes, which, funnily enough, I think by like actual timing metrics, does make it longer than the original first season.
Okay, right. Do they change the plot substantially, or
the main kind of throughput is mostly the same?
Okay.
However, they've reorganized and reshuffled a lot of events to make it more adherent to this sort of structure. So, take Omashu, right? What was one episode of Aang going to a city, finding out the king is his old best friend. Omashu is now where you also have the inventor who originally lived in the Air Temple. Also Jet, the rebel, who is fighting the air
up in the trees and all that,
up in the trees and that, and also where they include the tunnels with the badger moles, which was in the second season of the animated series.
Secret tunnel,
yeah. That's all. They've now kind of moved all of that together and put that in Omashu.
Okay, I mean, like, because you sort of
structuring it.
It's like an 8-episode series, it still kind of has to fit that Hollywoody structure, doesn't it? And that's where the Shyamalan movie kind of fell down.
Yeah. So, and like at a certain point, like there's points of it where it's bad, and I'll get to that in a sec. But at points of it, it's like I can see what they're doing, because obviously there is limitations to a live action product compared to an animated product. An animated product you can set anywhere, have a different setting every episode, and just keep going because that's a consistent animation. But for the live action thing, you've got certain sets. You can't build an infinite amount of sets. So I can see the necessity to kind of combine elements.
Yeah.
Condense things. I can see why they do that. It doesn't make it good. But I can see the limitations involved. What it does though as well is it makes, because again, that first season, it like for the most part, a lot of that series is kind of a road trip. It's them traveling across.
Yeah, little adventures that only kind of add up meaningfully later on. Like, yeah,
and just combining so many of the plot threads into one area like that, and that's one example of them. Like that covers about 2 episodes of the show. It makes the world feel a lot smaller by doing that. And as I said, like the as far as like actual time, like budget time involved, it's roughly the same. They like both series are about the same length, all told, which makes it interesting that they cut sections of the first series
to accommodate things they're taking from later.
Yes, like and things that aren't insignificant either. Like, remember the episode of the first season, Jong, the firebender.
Yeah.
Finds the wall. God, is not in this, and it feels wrong because that feels like a pretty fundamental part of Aang's kind of journey. But instead, what they kind of add in, and for better or worse, they added a lot more context to the goings on of the Fire Nation.
Right.
Specifically, Azula's now in this season.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I saw that like the Fire Emperor, who was like kind of kept to like series 3 in the original, is in this, isn't he?
Yes, Ozai is in this. Which, for the record, while I think the writing is pretty flat, the cast on the whole, great. And honestly, the cast do a really, really good job with what they're given.
Based on this and the film and the show, they always seem to cast the Fire Nation really well. That is the one consistent thing across all three of them. Like,
oh yeah, no, Daniel Day-Kim does a fantastic job as Ozai. He's got this imposing presence, and I don't know the actor's name, but the guy playing Zuko, I think, is my favorite because he manages to hit that perfect balance of being a kind of a stubborn 15-year-old while also having just that trauma. Like, again, the cast with what they're given do a really good job for the most part. But it just falls flat, and almost every time I was watching it, I had to ask the question, well, why am I watching this and not just rewatching the original?
That's what I was going to ask. Like, okay, let's interrogate the other ones. The likes of One Piece and Cowboy Bebop, they've been properties that have been gone for a long time, at least in terms of mainstream exposure. So there is some logic to reviving them with a fresh new cast. Then people can discover the old ones. It's a whole magical, lovely thing. But like, Avatar is up on Netflix. A generation grew up with it, and it's much more recent than those things, even though it is probably like 20 years old. So who is this for, is my question.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that. Like, the most charitable assumption I can give is a way to draw people who wouldn't, because there are people out there who will just not watch animated product.
Yeah.
And so I can see that, like, again, in the most charitable reading, it is a way to draw people in on that. But again, Avatar is one of those series that is pretty universally beloved, even by people who are not a fan of animated series.
Yeah, like, I didn't watch it until like 4 or 5 years ago, but I still knew through reputation that it was a good thing that people loved. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I get what you're saying about potentially people might not like watch what is ostensibly a kid's show. I know there is, and there is that on top of the animation bias and stuff. But like, why would that audience give a chance to a live action version of the same thing?
Well, that's the thing. That's another kind of problem I have with the show as well, is because I think in an event to try and steer people toward it and to differentiate itself from the original, it takes a different look at tone than the original. So the original is an animated series, has, I'd say for the most part, a pretty lighthearted tone, even though it deals with a lot of very, very serious, a lot of war, a lot of genocide, a lot of serious topics. But for the most part, the show has a joyful tone, a lot of fun, reflecting on the fact that the main character is like a 12-year-old boy. This really ratchets up the dramatic tension.
Okay.
Compared to the joyful tone. Like, for example, in this, where it is very much implied and told to us about it, in this one, we see the Air Nomad genocide. We see Ozai's Agni Kai with Zuko.
Right. I'm assuming we don't see in the intro Aang having a lovely time and crashing into a rock by accident.
Actually, that is in there.
Oh, is it?
And that's probably the biggest problem here, right? Is because for the most part they ground it in a more kind of realistic dramatic. It's not gritty. They don't make it a Game of Thrones but Avatar.
Right.
But the tone it sets is more dramatic realism than joyful cartoon.
Right.
And so when things like Aang on an airball, like going into a rock, or some of the stuff with Boomy happens, the cartoony aspects of it feel just really off balance. Like, it sets the tone off that you kind of just stand there going, huh. It doesn't have that balance the other one, the original did.
Right.
And so yeah, to kind of go back to your question, who is this for? I like so far on the standing, I would say nobody. Where I recommended One Piece to people who hadn't given the cartoon or the anime or the manga a try as a way to jump into it fresh, that added a lot of benefit to people who did know it. This adds nothing to people who know it and would leave people who don't know it worse off because you can just watch a better version of it.
Right. Which is not to say that it's awful, but it's just sort of like...
No, but it's just kind of dull.
Right.
But Netflix announced the metrics that it apparently had a 9% higher initial viewer ratio, or 9% higher viewer numbers than the live action One Piece. So screw us, I guess. This is probably
but they're watching it because the live action One Piece was good and people are more willing to take a chance on it. It's like that follow-up thing where it's like the opening weekend does better, but like overall it's less,
Yeah. I think Netflix really jump on strong opening numbers.
Right.
Like if viewership for a show, it's...
Which, considering it's a streaming service, is a bit weird. Isn't the whole point that you can watch it anytime?
Hey, try to explain that to the men in the marketing rooms who say, why is number not going up?
Oh my god. Well, I mean, look, I've no clever segue. Something One Piece at DCC. We're both going to be at DCC, aren't we?
We are. Actually, no, you know what? You're not far off, because Emily Rudd is the actress for Nami is going to be there.
Yes. So let's just talk about that very briefly, because I know you want to talk about Poor Things as well. I am at this point a regular at DCC. Love it to bits. And myself, my family are going to be there. We've got some actors who want to meet. You are going this time. What are you looking forward to about it?
Listen, I'm not gonna pretend the reason I'm going isn't
this is Dublin Comic Con, by the way. I should say that full clarification. On March 9th and 10th, I believe.
Yeah, no, it's the Baldur's Gate voice actors. That's pretty much the only reason I'm going. Theo Solomon and Deborah Wild are going to be there, and I love Will and Lae'zel. So that's it. To be honest, listen, we spent a lot of time on this show gassing up Dublin Comic Con. I probably normally wouldn't go unless, invited. Because listen, we've talked about how family friendly it is. It is also, in terms of the convention circuit, pretty expensive.
It is. MegaCon is much more family friendly and a lot cheaper, it should be said, although there are less things. But no, but I still like it. My nephew is going for the first time with his big massive cosplay costume he's making. It's nice to have that sort of tentpole thing in the middle of the year. My daughter's going to dress up as Moana. I'm going to go as Disney Hades. I want to meet Mark Shepard because he's one of those in everything type actors. I want to look at the line for John DiMaggio and say, it's not worth it, even though he's brilliant.
Well, there he is. That's great. I think he's doing a talk on the.
Well, that's just it. You can, if you plan ahead, you can do it relatively cheaply. The talks are free, all the cosplaying stuff is free. You can do the masquerade free. There's artist sallies, and you can do all the take the photo ops and video games. They're all free. The Lego room is free. So you can do it on the cheap, but you're right. It is both in terms of time, energy, and actually, yes, the financial as well. That's three things. It is a bit of a pricey commitment,
Yeah, compared to especially again, compared to some of the other major conventions.
Yeah.
I know myself and Dara are talking about Kaizoku-Con in Cork. And while I have not been able to go just because of planning, AkumaCon in Galway is great and also very reasonably priced. So like that's it. Like just I think I want to just kind of really kind of emphasize the point that DCC we talk it up a lot because it's the one we end up going to. It is far from the be all end all of conventions.
No, there are like I think they have had a bit of a changing of the guard, and I think you can kind of feel a bit of those teething problems. I think the roster of actors they've got this time and next time is a sign they're getting a better handle on it. Like, have you seen they got Janeway for August?
I did.
She is a name. Like, you know, they could fill that just with her alone. Like, you know, not that like kind of not everyone goes to the celebrities, but I do. So like it's now having said that, I wish more there are better ways to structure it financially. With MegaCon, the tickets are dirt cheap, and then the likes of the autographs are a bit more expensive, but there's no queues. So really you could do the whole thing cheap if you wanted to. I'm going to a Doctor Who one in April where the upfront cost of the ticket is really expensive, but once you're in, meeting the celebrities, doing the stuff, super cheap. An autograph's like a $5, and you get 4 free with your ticket. You know,
that's pretty good actually. No, to
me, that's a better structure.
Yeah,
because that way you get your money, and then it's at your own discretion what you want to do. You know.
Yeah, I also like while we're just airing grievances. The convention center in Dublin's an awful place to hold this. I hate the structure of that, because everything's on top of each other. Navigating it is a nightmare.
Yeah.
And like the spring one might not be too bad, but the summer one in August, that is the entire lobby is a giant glass front.
Yes.
And there is like, listen, conventions have a heat to smell ratio that is that's pretty rough at the best of times.
Yeah.
But when you lump that into a greenhouse, it's diabolical.
Yes, and I have incredible empathy for anyone who is in any way like has their mobility limited or anything like that. Because, and it's not the same thing by any means, but I will say it. Last time I went as Bowser and I took up a huge radius of room, the weight on the lifts, like, you know, was a nightmare. Like, you know, it's not without its problems that I feel like could be ironed out. But then again, it is a victim of its own success. It was a relatively small affair. And then I think 2 years ago, they got all of their tickets in at 10 a.m. And like, you know, it's hard not to see them like capitalizing on it. Having said that, I know a friend of mine who's a cosplayer is not attending because she felt it was kind of getting very broified, for lack of a better term, with the likes of the Halo actors, the Terminator actors, the esports, like, you know, so we're just gonna have to kind of try it and see come the weekend after next, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, we'll report back with see how they've done, see if there's any improvements.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, as I said, I probably wouldn't have been going were it not for my Baldur's Gate babies.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, I don't mean to discomfort. Like, we've had lots of great times at the Dublin Comic Con over the years. I'm talking from the perspective of someone who now has a wife and 2 kids, and you know, moving around a buggy is like a bit of an ordeal. So, like, I think there are room to improve, but it may happen. You know, it's like the same space is accommodating twice the amount of people it used to, but the price is also going up. And like, you can only heap on so many inconveniences before it becomes more of a chore than like a relaxing day out, you know?
Exactly. Like we'll see it out. And like, again, eventually, if it doesn't change and things are still just inconvenient, people will stop going. That's the reality of it.
Yeah, especially if it's on twice a year, like.
Exactly. But we that is to be seen. That is the future. That is not where we are now. But
how much time do we have left?
About 10 minutes.
Well, then tell us about the big new exciting film that you've seen literally right before we started recording.
That's you caught me while I was brainstorming a good segue, but there is kind of no draw between between Dublin.
Well, I mean, do you want to
Comic-Con and
rock
Poor
paper
Things.
scissors? Because I could talk about the president instead. If you're
No. I was thinking of a segue. We're already here.
Okay. Poor Things.
We left that bridge.
Go.
So, Cian literally texted me to set up this recording as I was watching Poor Things. So I was like, great, that's topic. That's perfect. It
Quickly,
could
while your
not
brain
be
is still
fresher in my mind. Now, Poor Things. Me and Dara kind of mentioned it last week. This is a difficult movie to talk about at 5 p.m. As it seems to be some of the best movies I've seen this year. Because Saltburn was also a very difficult movie to talk about at 5 p.m. But Poor Things, it's Emma Stone and Willem Dafoe, and I think the best way to describe it is a kind of a weird cross between Frankenstein and Alice in Wonderland through the lens of Terry Gilliam. Through the lens of the guy who directed Brazil.
Apologies, my microphone was just off there. Yeah,
Sure.
because I'm familiar that it's based on a book, but the book wasn't this like Terry Gilliam-esque thing. It was slightly more grounded. This is
the book. I think the book is a diary format.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's worth noting this is directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, who directed The Favourite and The Lobster. So pretty surreal.
Yeah, actually, I was glad you brought that up. Favourite, I really liked. The Lobster, I liked the first half of it, but I really took against it after a certain point. So I'm really interested to see where Poor Things falls by comparison.
I've actually, funnily enough, I haven't seen either of them. I really wanted to watch The Favourite and never got around to it. It's on Disney. It's one of those ones where it's been sitting on my watch list for long enough now that I keep forgetting about it. But from what I've heard about The Lobster, it seems like Poor Things manages to reel itself back in just enough compared to The Lobster, where it doesn't go fully off the rails, but it's still an absolutely buck wild movie to watch.
Right.
And the movie basically just follows a woman named Bella Baxter, who, not to give away too much even from the start of the movie, finds herself in unfortunate circumstances involving her brain.
I related to that.
Ends up going on a journey, almost a something mirroring a coming of age journey, and a realization that maybe all the men in her life want to control her, and maybe that's not great actually now that she thinks about it. And also, why do people have such societal politeness, and why do they have a problem with redacted on at 5?
So can I ask, is this like, because I've been trying to avoid hearing too much so I can go in blind when I eventually get the chance. Is this like a Fifth Element thing where the character is like kind of in an adult body with like a sort of a naive brain, or like what's the kind of mechanics of it like?
So the really funny thing that you mentioned, The Fifth Element, it's what it is a movie that is actually commenting on that.
On that trope.
On Born Sexy Yesterday is what my
I was kind of tiptoeing around it, but yes, that's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Funnily enough, the movie actually kind of it is a commentary on that. I do not want I truly, finding out the circumstances of Bella Baxter's being at the start of the movie sets the tone for the whole thing. So I actually don't want to tell you what it is.
Okay, but I'm just trying to get a sense of like kind of what the angle of the film is without necessarily hearing the plot, you know, like.
Oh no, the angle is very clearly, hey, isn't it pretty wild that women's lives are decided entirely by men?
Right. Valid, sure.
Yeah. Also, I must stress, this is a capital A adult movie.
Right.
Truly, not for kids. Cian, I would make pretty sure that like your two kids are at least 2 rooms over from you watching it. Did you watch Saltburn?
Not yet.
Okay.
We're skipping over an Irish scandal there, if you bring that one up.
No, I'm just more trying to gauge, like, how far away your kids were when you were watching a movie like this, because that's how far they need to be away.
Okay, all right. So you based it. Bear in mind, I am in a council flat. Unless I'm in the garden, there's only so much I can do, and that bothers the neighbors.
In the garden with headphones under a sheet. That's how you need to watch porn things. With shame, Ian, with Catholic shame.
Oh my god! So, like, did you know anything about this film going into it?
I did. I did know. I did know the kind of the Frankenstein and the surrealism aspect.
Right.
But I was pretty blown away by the characters and the acting.
Isn't Mark Ruffalo in it as well?
Mark Ruffalo does a fantastic job of playing truly just the most pathetic man I've ever seen. Like, there is a sequence at the start of the movie where he is giddily running up the stairs to see who this very pretty dumb woman is, and falls flat on his face.
Good man.
It's incredible. It is a tour de force performance of just an awful person. Of course, Emma Stone does a terrific job. Kind of building that line from that that Lilu Dallas up to a brain surgeon by the end of the movie.
Yeah, she's an actor I've really come to respect over the years, between this and The Favourite. And, like, it's just so buck wild to me that she did Birdman in between reshoots on Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like, what a weird duality. And then, like, what's it called? I feel terrible I've forgotten the musical in Hollywood.
Oh, La La Land.
Thank you, yes.
Yeah.
Like, she seems to be relatively fearless, which now obviously some of that's down to the opportunities you're given, but I still appreciate it. Like,
oh no, she's I think, like, no, you can't say she's not putting in the work.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
but yeah, no, I watched it. It's up on YouTube now. You can buy it for like 16 quid, which I happily did because it did not run in cinemas for long enough.
Did it not? I would have thought like something with that much around for ages.
It felt like to me it only ran for like a month. Because I told myself I'm going to go see it this weekend. And when about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I told myself I'm going to go see it. And when I looked up, God, it had just vanished out of the cinemas. It doesn't seem. Listen, I might just be getting an overblown image from Dara, but it seems like it didn't run for half as long as Madam Web has.
Madam Web hasn't been out long. He's been talking about it for ages. It's so weird in cinemas now. Like, the Mighty Pups movie is still in cinemas.
Well, now, hold on. Listen, people need to bring their kids somewhere.
What, you're not going to bring the Poor Things, no?
I cannot stress enough, Cian. Do not bring a child to this movie. I cannot stress this enough. We're having a lot of fun here. Don't bring your kids to Poor Things.
Oh my god, if you insist.
Or if you do, don't at me. But yeah, no, it's again, I haven't watched a lot of movies again just because getting to a cinema is pretty difficult. But so far, 2024 has been a pretty solid year between Saltburn and Poor Things. And right over the sandy horizon, I see a giant worm looking me in the eye. And I am very excited for Dune 2.
When you're alone and life is getting you lonely, you can always go, "Uck, Dune 2."
That is my Arrakis. That is my Dune.
Maybe the real makers were the friends we made along the way.
No, the real friend was in fact Duncan, Idaho.
Duncan, Idaho. Like, I mean, I was talking to somebody who's read all the books. Like, he's properly in that like Boba Fett space of like ratio of presence to recognition. You know what I mean? Like, he's not a big part of the books or film, but no, really gravitated to him. Like,
But that's because, unlike Boba Fett, Duncan Idaho has the most Chad name ever, called Duncan Idaho.
Yeah.
It's forever funny to me. Like, listen, you could say a lot of things about Frank Herbert, but it's so funny to me that he made a movie fundamentally based in like a an analog for a Middle Eastern desert, and made his Christ-like figures a man named Paul and a man named Duncan Idaho. That's the 70s for you.
Oh, I'm trying to find out who played Duncan Idaho in the 80s one now, just for comparison. Like, you know.
I think he's just Jason Momoa. He's just a big beardy man to me.
So just Jason Momoa just happened to be in the 80s one, even though it was impossible.
Hey, what other things have happened? Listen. I don't know. Sting was Fade Routher. No, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sting was the Stellan Skarsgård. Not Stellan. Bill Skarsgård's next. Yeah. One of the Skarsgård.
Oh my goodness. Well, I suspect that Dune 2 is going to eat up all of next week's episode.
If I get a chance to see it. But it cannot eat up any more of this episode because we are out of time. I could, while I could conjecture more about Dune and hoping that this film franchise gets to the point where the Emperor of the Universe becomes a worm, we simply do not have the time.
Look, he's already Christopher Walken. There's no upgrade.
There's no upgrade. But that is our time for this week. Cian, is there anywhere you would like the other people to find you?
I won't plug, but I will do like a little, what have we learned today? Don't go to chocolate events. Don't bring children to poor things.
Yep.
Do go to DCC, but just be prepped for it. And just watch the original Avatar: The Last Airbender. You didn't even mention the fact that one of the actors thought that they were on the James Cameron one.
Oh, I forgot. That's the funniest thing. How long did it take him to realize he wasn't going to be blue?
God, James is really
that's my plug.
In a very kind of easterly direction.
That's my plug for this. Go look up the actor that played General Zhao and try to get in Avatar 3.
Like
obviously he wants it so bad.
Between this and Dakota Johnson thinking she was in the MCU. Like, how powerful are agents?
People need to read their contracts.
Not read scripts.
Well, thank you all for listening. As always, you can find us all. You can find all of our links on nerdtoknowmedia.com. There, of course, you can find our Patreon. You can kick us a few bucks. Always appreciated. And until next time, I have been Kev.
And I'm going to be laughing for a while. Bear with me.
And neither of us are an Avatar.
No. Not yet. Give us time.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.